Ice climbing, the art of moving over water ice, crafting support with crampon and ice axe. It requires the strength and technical know-how of rock climbing, the experience and stamina of mountaineering, and an intimate knowledge of a material that can change from being a brittle crystal to a liquid in a single day. A knowledge that only comes through experiencing winter wilderness and addressing its risks on ice. Curtain Call at the Columbia Icefield in Jasper National Park, Alberta. The quintessence of large volume, steep, big blue Canadian ice. Professional mountain guide and photographer Jay Smith has been climbing for over 25 years. He and fellow alpinist Conrad Anker have ascended many peaks throughout the world, including the Himalaya and Andes.
The second pitch on Curtain Call was steep, and usually steeper ice isn't as well bonded as lower angle ice because it drifts down in a vertical sort of plane, forms little icicles, and we call them chandeliers. You have to swing your tools 5, 6, 7 times to get something that you like, and it's often a process of clearing that loose, fragile ice out of there so you can get a good placement.
One guy does it and it's one way, and as soon as he's done climbing it, the next person has a totally different experience because the ice has changed that much in one ascent. That's kind of the beauty of ice climbing.
Okay, dude. All right. Safe up there, man. Here we go. Ice climbing, pretty bizarre sport. Pretty killer up here, Conrad.
You have two tools. You're basically backed up. You test them, you make sure it's good. You put your life on your decision right there. If the tool's good, well, then you don't need the screw, and you just keep climbing. My feeling is that if the ice is good, you don't need the pro, and when the ice is poor, and you want the pro, generally you can't get it anyway. Basically, that's the way I climb. I get those tools in. where I feel that I could fall totally onto one and not worry about it.
I had a fantastic time up there. The location is fantastic. 2 very steep pitches, full value, 50 meters, rope stretchers. It's always a pleasure to get out climbing with Jay.
Alex Lowe, affectionately known as the Speed, has summited Mount Everest twice and won the International Speed Mountaineering Contest held in Russia. He's one of the world's leading alpinists and mountain guides.
There you go. See how much easier that one is? Whoop. Unfortunately, ice climbing is pretty serious in nature. You're sort of festooned with a lot of spiky metal things, and falling off ice climbs with all those things attached to your body is usually fairly injurious and to be avoided at all costs. Climbing with Kitty it's great. Kitty's a piece of work. She's got the most infectious belly laugh of any woman I've ever climbed with. She likes to come off as a good old Southern gal, just little old Southern gal, but don't let her fool you.
When I was little, I liked playing outside, and I played outside a lot. And then I went to college up in Vermont, and I went skiing quite a bit, but I got tired of standing in lift line, so I tried ice climbing. And I like ice climbing because it seems adventurous. Not so many people do it.
Kitty Calhoun Grissom, the first woman to climb Makalu, the world's 5th highest peak, is one of the leading female alpinists and mountain guides in America.
So if you do it in front of your face, ice is more likely to break off or else. Sometimes your tools will ricochet and they pop you and you get scars and stuff.
There's a huge difference between climbing pure ice and climbing mixed routes. Mixed routes to me are where it all comes together. You use all the rock climbing skills you've gained over the years, your direct aid techniques, pounding pitons and ferreting out little pieces of protection, and then of course all the techniques you learned on ice, just hauling off and bashing as hard as you can when it's thick enough.
So I think people that are interested in doing this kind of climbing should have a very humble and respectful attitude and accept a long apprenticeship when they learn to do this, because it's a serious game.
What I find appealing about ice climbing is that it challenges me physically, mentally, and emotionally. I end up doing things that I wasn't sure I could do, and I end up with more self-confidence. It's fun sharing intense experiences with another partner.
Yeah, the ice conditions the day Kitty and I climbed the pillar in Rifle were pretty grim. It's funny because we walked up to this thing and we thought, Kitty and I looked at each other and said, this is a piece of cake. We'll walk in the park, we'll just have a good time here. And turned out to be a long, long hit. Mentally very taxing. Very, very few good placements, and those were hard won.
I guess the thing about Alex and the way he climbs is different from the way I climb, is that he's really strong, and maybe I'm a little more careful about conserving energy and conserving strength. I was also impressed that he put in a good bit of protection even on a pitch that was probably easy for him, and it made me feel not so bad about putting in a lot of protection, and I think it's too risky to just try to reach the top of the hard part before you fall, just because you can't stop and put in protection. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody, because if I felt like I was trying to prove something, then I think I'd feel some kind of outside pressures to do something that I may not feel comfortable with, and it might interfere with my judgment. And so I really just climb for myself. If it wasn't rewarding, then I would quit. I have to plan where I'm going to go and where I'm going to swing my tools, and how I'm going to be able to stay in balance and not use up a lot of energy. You need to be determined not to fall when you're leading. Ice climbing requires a lot of patience, because you have to figure out the moves, and it requires good judgment. In ice climbing, there's a lot of things to worry about. I really try to focus and think about what I have to do next instead of worrying about how far I'm going to fall. Then it's pretty easy to panic and sort of lose it. When I feel like I'm nervous, then I think that all my muscles tense up and I use or waste a lot of energy, so I try to take deep breaths, and sometimes I'll just stay still and try to relax all my muscles one by one until they're all relaxed, and realize that I can hang out. It's mostly just mental. When I get scared, then I start tensing up. You need to figure out how you're going to get off the route, how you're going to get off if somebody gets hurt or the weather, or it gets dark. Maybe there's avalanche danger getting to the route, or there's avalanche danger above the route. It's always hard to back down, because you'll never know if you could have done it or not, but it's actually worth being conservative, because the risks are so great in ice climbing if it hurts. For me, I enjoy long routes because I like looking around and getting up high. I like swinging leads with somebody and getting into sort of a rhythm and spending all day on a climb. It's kind of fun.